Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Dungeons & Dragons is a great game, not only for its ability to transport you and your friends into a fantasy world and spin a story together, but also for the crazy things that can happen and the randomness of events. And usually the stories I read on this channel involve that guys, bad DMs, or much, much worse. Though, the day I'm making this video happens to be this Doge's birthday, so today I want to read something a bit more lighthearted. And if you would like to make my birthday extra special, you can like and comment on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. But with that out of the way, let's get right into this amazingly entertaining story. The Unkillable Old Man by Reddit user Evil Dumdum. So, a bit of background. The campaign takes place in a Viking-style culture in a frontier village. The town makes money gold panning, hunting, logging, etc., but is in decline since a massive ice-breathing polar bear massacred the old town and forced them to move location minus 2/3 of the population. Our PCs, Tabaxi Thief Rogue, Tiefling Celestial Warlock, and Tiefling Tempest Cleric, have been hired as winter guards, as there's a lot of shit that wants to kill you this far north, and not many fighting-age men left. But the PCs aren't hugely relevant here. There's a lot of stuff out there, and not all of it is your level, type DM, who doesn't like to fudge rolls for story purposes. I won't set out to kill the PCs, but bad luck or dumb decisions will absolutely kill you, and I will let it happen. The BBEG of this beginning arc is a werewolf sorcerer, who decided he wanted to rule this lucrative gold-producing village, with his 8 werewolf posse, each with levels and player classes, and their army of lizard men and goblins. To demonstrate the cruelness of this world, I wanted a martyr. Enter our antagonist. Skarl Solmund is 60, and had retired as the village chief. When Yarbolg, the massive ice-breathing polar bear, wrecked the old village 3 years ago, and the chief at the time died, he stepped up again despite being past his prime. He was a decent fighter, but time has reduced him to merely a level 2 fighter, still one of the best in the village, as no one in the village was over level 2 apart from the level 4 druid healer. As a warning shot, the BBEG lured 2 hill giants to the village. Skarl Solmund was supposed to delay one, dying heroically while the PCs killed theirs. He didn't fucking die. Turn after turn, the hill giant got bad rolls, and Skarl Solmund got the odd hit in, with the village hunters helping out with the odd volley, and the warlock lending the occasional Eldritch Blast. Finally, after 6 or 7 turns, the giant got low enough. Skarl action surged and stabbed the giant to death, stabbing it between the legs. The players dubbed him Skarl Ballbuster Solmund at that point, and told me he was now adopted, that I wasn't allowed to kill him. Like hell I wasn't. I was going to martyr this guy. Later on, through some trickery, the BBEG took control of the village, while the PCs were getting silver ore, and all of the men capable of fighting were shipped off towards a nearby swamp for some unknown reason. The PCs caught up and freed the prisoners, killing the barbarian werewolf and lizardmen guards in the process. A dozen sessions later, and 2 more dead werewolves, rogue twins, the PCs finally mount an attack to retake the village, using the druid NPC to lure the werewolf pack away. The PCs are level 5 at this point, supported by 20 militia guards and some named characters including the Skarl that were all level 2 or lower. The garrison consisted of 15 goblins, 14 lizardmen, a goblin chief, a lizardman chief, and a lizardman shaman. The lizardman chief squared up to the Skarl and attempted to kill him. The lizardman was far stronger. It's martyr time, folks. He got beat hard and didn't get a single hit in, but being the player's favorite and having plenty of healing on hand, the PCs kept him on his feet. The battle turned in the villagers' favor, and the lizard chief started taking damage. And who do you think got the killing blow by pure coincidence? Take a fucking guess. At this point, the PCs are in love and insist I give him a level to commemorate his various achievements. Fair enough, a level 3 fighter isn't going to break things, especially when he doesn't travel with the party most of the time, and they seem pretty into this. Flash forward a week to this session. The BBEG turns up with the remainder of his posse, mounted on direwolves and one winterwolf, fireballs the gates open because he's done playing and launches a frontal attack. I have the fighter werewolf henchman, who wields a Shatterspike greatsword, make a beeline for Scarl Solmond. Round 1. Werewolf whiffs both attacks. Solmond does a small amount of damage with the +1 trident he looted from the Lizardman Chief. The players chip away at this werewolf, and a number of villagers armed with silvered arrows, made through great pains by the PCs, shoot at it too. Second turn, their werewolf gets 2 solid hits, and, emboldened, action surges, taking Scarl Solmond to death saves. Despite dropping to the floor, he manages the devil's own luck and parries the final blow on his way down, despite the werewolf having advantage. The players have problems of their own at this point, so can only spare the odd arrow to help. Same for the villagers, but it chips away until the werewolf has only 25 HP. By the time Solmond's next turn comes around, he makes his death save. Success or fail, it doesn't matter, I'm thinking to myself. The werewolf is finishing him immediately afterwards. Natural fucking 20. He gets back up. The PCs are losing their shit. I roll for his attack. Natural 19. Not a huge issue, except he just leveled up that night. They insisted champion fighter because, obviously, he's a champ. So, a crit it is. He does a decent chunk of damage, but not a killing blow. Then I remember his action surge. You can see where this is going. Yep, you guessed it. Natural fucking 19. After having a player verify that, yes, indeed, the dice gods hate me, I rolled damage. 2 over lethal. He got the killing blow. The session had to end early for the player's commitments, but this NPC is giving me an aneurysm. I'm God in this world. I'm the god that bosses around all other gods. It should not be that hard to kill off a 60-year-old man who's only level 2 or 3. Part of me is starting to think that I need to start fudging rolls to stop him from becoming an accidental Mary Sue DMPC. And the other part is losing its mind at the idea that this fictional character is at every turn showing the almighty, all-powerful being that controls every inch of his world the middle finger. Fuck you, Scarl Solmond. Well played. I love how the DM made this character for the express purpose of killing him off, only for RNJesus to have other plans. Now, the DM has a DMPC that he still wants to kill, but his players want to stick around. And I wonder how it will play out. Luckily for us, we don't have to wait. The Unkillable Old Man returns. The arc finale finished in today's session, and I'm going to be frank, it just got more ridiculous. When we left off, Scarl Solmond had somehow got the last hit in on one of the werewolf henchmen of the BBEG. Despite this loss between the 3 remaining werewolves, with monk, ranger, and sorcerer levels respectively, along with their direwolf mounts, were making short work of the players and NPC villagers. The BBEG sorcerer wolf was riding a winterwolf capable of a decently strong ice breath attack. Between 2 NPCs capable of small amounts of healing, and the 2 players capable of healing outright deaths were being avoided, but a lot of yo-yoing was going on. The party's level 3 NPC wizard, the warlock's obvious "he's not my boyfriend," had been given a scroll of immolation that was loot from a quest to find magical aid, which successfully went off. The BBEG used its 1 legendary save to avoid being one-shotted. The party cleric managed to use a well-placed javelin of lightning, which critted. The resulting 10d6 damage annihilated a direwolf, and the 4d6 trail did notable damage to several others, including the BBEG, turning the tides of the fight. At this point, the BBEG sorcerer werewolf found himself at around half health, almost completely surrounded by the players and half a dozen NPCs and village militia, all of whom were on very low health. He took a calculated risk and detonated a fireball centered on himself. 24 damage to everything, including himself. The players, the NPCs, the villagers, all went down regardless of if they made their saves, since they were on such low health. You know the drill by now. Everyone went down, except Skarl Solmund. He didn't fucking die. Because he had used Second Wind the turn before, he was on 13 HP, and guess who passed his save? Using a sorcery point, the BBEG attempted to finish the job with a bonus action firebolt, but failed to get past the old man's AC. Having failed the save for his own fireball, the BBEG was counting on everyone being unconscious to escape. But guess whose turn it was next? Go ahead, guess. It wouldn't have been so bad, but you know how this guy works at this point. Crit. In the end, I let my players make the final call, as I didn't want to have some Mary Sue DMPC taking all of their glory, if it would bother them even slightly. It took about 0.5 seconds for them to unanimously demand that the Skarl was given the kill. So yeah, that's the ongoing story about how the dice gods are determined to turn my random 60-year-old NPC into some sort of immortal god. I'll keep you posted if more happens. So now, the character the DM created for the express purpose of killing off has now not only helped save the day, but got the final hit on the BBEG. But, dear viewers, the escapades of Solmund isn't over yet, as we are about to find out in Part 3. The Unkillable Old Man, The Re-Killing, Part 3. So, the werewolves were gone, and there's only one immediate threat to the village left. Yarbolg, the challenge rating 9, ice-breathing, legendary resistance having, can literally just walk through your measly wooden palisade, chunky boy of a polar bear. The party have, at this point, discovered that he's the pet of an adult-ish white dragon, and he doesn't cross the river because she's waiting for the town to gather more gold before she kills them all and takes it off of them. Cue some shenanigans with the ice giants up north flexing their muscles, which forces her to attack the village as part of a deal with them. She yeets Yarbolg at the village early in the morning, expecting an easy fight like last time. Only the party, Solmund, and a few villagers on the walls with bows are able to gather before joining battle. I believe the party was level 6 at this point. Naturally, Solmund is in the front lines, all 3 fighter levels of him facing down a creature that can literally deal twice his health and damage in a single hit. This doesn't happen though, because the group's cleric does his usual thing of drawing aggro by being obnoxiously loud and flashy from the enemy's point of view. The party consists of a cleric, warlock, bark, and rogue, very squishy. The poor cleric usually has to tank despite being quite delicate himself, and achieves aggro by winding up enemies as much as possible the second they appear. A few rounds of back and forth happen. Skarl isn't doing much, but he isn't being hit either. Then, finally, the clouds parted, and a legendary action backhand paw swipe connected with the rubbery old bastard after he took his turn to jab Yarbolg on the side. My chance to finally give this guy a martyr's death, without fudging anything and protecting his village from the very thing that destroyed it before. He lives on 1 health. Did I mention that despite being pretty squishy, the party had a cleric, warlock celestial, and a bard? 3 dedicated healers that practically worship Skarl Solmund. He was back up to full health in about 6 seconds flat, and thanks to not seeming like a big threat, oh Yarbolg, if you only knew. And the obnoxious Tempest cleric clapping those thundery cheeks to distract that there were no further swipes in his direction. A turn or 2 more of back and forth, and Yarbolg is on 8 health, and would you look at whose turn it is. I'd love to say it was a crit, but not this time. Yarbolg went not with a bang, and there were plenty of those from the Tempest cleric, but a whimper. A bog standard hit from Solmund's spear doing exactly 8 damage, because of course it did. This isn't the end though, because there's the adult-ish white dragon to worry about, and she's pretty pissed off that her favorite pet and childhood companion is dead. So out she comes with her small army of ice elementals ready to kill everyone. Luckily by now, most of the village, plus a mercenary company of around 40 professional soldiers, are awake and mustering for battle. The mercs and the villagers manage to hold off the bulk of the ice elementals with a shield wall and barrels of oil, but the dragon and a couple of scattered elementals are the party's problem, along with Solmund. The dragon hit them hard. I made sure to play her as an intelligent and calculating enemy that used every ability she had in the most efficient way possible. Anyone that fought a DM who knows how to optimize a dragon knows the drill. Fly, breathe ice, kite from 10 foot up, using legendary action wing beats to get out of range after making the maximum number of attacks each turn, while you wait for your breath to recharge. Target the squishies first, repeat. She made sure to direct at least one attack to Solmund every turn, except when breathing, she hit the maximum number of people possible. Despite this, probably due to the fact that once the village druid joined the fight, there were 4 dedicated healers in the fight. Solmund did not get decapitated. He couldn't do much other than ineffectually throw a spear, however, since she was out of range. In this fight, the group's rogue did a fantastic job of doing insane amounts of damage while keeping a low profile, with everyone else just burning every healing spell they had to keep allies from dying. Finally, the rogue got a crit. I allow requests and suggestions for quits and their effects, and the dragon's wings were targeted. She fell to the ground. She's clinging on by a thread after this, and I usually rule that intelligent enemies retreat when at disadvantage. It's okay, I thought. She'll just use her next turn to take off and run away. I think everyone reading this knows where this is going. There are 2 people who get to go before she acts. The bard, who at this point has played as a healer and buff giver and doesn't really do damage, and our boy. The bard does what he do, gave inspiration to Solmund and mocked the dragon. Her feelings are hurt, but she's good. Her health is still in the mid-20s, so she can still make it out. Solmund steps up, and crit. Now, I know what you're thinking. Even with a crit, the 2d8 plus 3 damage that Solmund can do as a level 3 fighter isn't enough to take out her 25 plus health. Did I mention the bard though? He's a Valor bard. Solmund gets to add that inspiration to his damage roll. That crit just turned into 4d8 plus 3. Long story short, there's now dragon meat being cooked in the village, and I am busy repairing my eardrums after the party went nuts celebrating. Sadly, this is likely to be the end of Solmund's epic exploits. The party has reached the point where they have eliminated all threats that are likely to invade the village. Despite the campaign continuing, the village is now on the offensive, with the party leading a counterattack against the ice giant threat in the north. Solmund will never leave the village, and so his role is now one of coordinating, rebuilding, and using the hoard of treasure left behind to fortify and arm the village. It would take something big to change that. Ragnarok, perhaps. And before anyone asks, yes, I let him level up. He is now a level 4 fighter, inspiring leader, of course. Well played, Scarl Solmund. You beat me. After all that, with the Winter Bear and a frickin' dragon, Solmund is still kicking. Who knows, maybe the DM will spin the story that he becomes the next BBEG. Though, that might just be bad news for the players. Have you ever been in a game where the impossible happened? Are you a DM that had a character that just wouldn't die? If so, be sure to let us know in the comments. If you have a story that you would like to be read on the channel, feel free to post it in the comments, on the channel subreddit, or even just DM me on Twitter. As always, I appreciate all of you, and hope you have a long and happy life, just like Solmund. Until next time.